Do sensitive people make good alcoholics? I'm going to give you a couple of different scenarios as me as a sensitive person as a drinker, and then me as a sensitive person as a non drinker, and see if you guys can relate to it, see if it resonates with you. So, as a drinker, my whole life, I spent 27 years drinking. A typical day for me was waking up thinking about alcohol, getting to that binge session, being excited about it, drinking all day, drinking all night, and then blacking out, and then waking up the next morning with a hangover. I always looked at my life and my personality as somebody who was very sensitive, very empathetic, cared so deeply about how other people felt, and their moods ultimately kind of dictated how I felt and how I went about my business and my life. And that controlled me. It kept me in the loop of drinking for so long, and it made me want to isolate. It made me want to get away from people. It didn't make me want to stay near people. So I ultimately ended up just going into my own little cave, drinking alcohol, and not really caring about what was going on in the outside world. So can you resonate with that? As somebody who has been 5+ years alcohol free, I can tell you that my sensitivity didn't just go away, but my worry and my care about what other people thought was something that did go away. Now it took work, it took effort, it took years of sobriety to get to a point where I was ready to confront that issue. And that doesn't mean that I didn't lose my sensitivity. I was always worried that I was going to lose that as a drinker. I was always looking at my drinking like it was, something that was helping me kind of drink that away, like it was a curse that I was emotional or sensitive. I always had my dad kind of look down on me for being that way, and I always kind of beat myself up about it. But in reality, it makes us who we are. If we're sensitive and we're empathetic and we feel how other people feel, it's not a bad thing. But being able to control our emotions when people are struggling or having a bad mood or any of those kinds of things, and not needing to drink to kind of quiet that, that's a healthy thing. And that's something that we can set a boundary for ourselves in our recovery. Another thing is social anxiety. As a drinker, a lot of us use alcohol to cope with social anxiety, right? For me, I didn't necessarily use it to cope with social settings. A lot of times I was an isolated drinker, so I drank in isolation. And if I was going to a function, I wasn't going to be drinking. And that was in my 20s. In my 30s and in my early 40s, when I was still drinking, I did use alcohol on occasion. But if I was going to be driving, I didn't want to use alcohol. So I might not drink. But a lot of us in our drinking lives, we use alcohol to kind of help us with social settings. It helps lubricate us. It helps us kind of relax and feel a little bit at ease. But at the same time, if we're drinking, we're making poor choices, saying the wrong things, and then we're filled with dread later and ruminating about those things that we said and did. So for me, when I would drink at those social settings, I typically would regret a lot of the things that I said and did. And if we're blacking out, if I'm blacking out especially, and so that took a lot of time in my sobriety to kind of get to a point where I didn't feel so anxious in those settings. In fact, when I quit drinking, I started to feel like my authentic self in those settings and feel like I do feel better that I'm not drinking now, and I can be at this party or this get together for a couple hours or at this bar or wherever we're meeting, be there, be present, have conversations, not say the wrong thing, kind of know what we can say, not feel inebriated. And then I can leave that party. I can go home. I can get on with my day, do whatever I'm going to be doing. And then when I wake up the next morning, I'm not hungover. Like most of the people that are going to be at that get together, they may be hungover, or at least some of them might be. But me, I moved on with my life, and that's the biggest blessing of being alcohol free, is being able to be our authentic selves, enjoy these social events, and then feel good the next day. Multitasking. When people are expecting too much of us, it can be overwhelming, and we can be drinking to deal with that. A lot of times in my working life, I would be stressed out at work all day, and then I would get home and just be relieved when I get to that first drink. And then I would drink the rest of the night, and then I would wake up feeling kind of crummy, kind of dehydrated, and I'd go to work. And yeah, I was functioning. I was able to get to work and do my job, but was I doing it to the best of my ability? Was I handling the pressure well? Was I handling my boss, my coworkers, and the situations that they were putting me in? Was I handling those well? Probably not. As a non drinker, I'm able to get to work on time, feeling good most mornings. I'd say 99% of my days, I feel good. I don't wake up with a hangover, particularly, but I wake up, I do my stretches, I exercise, I have my breakfast, I read scripture, and then I go on with my day, and whatever is expected of me in a given day. And now, most of the time, if I'm not at work, I'm making my own schedule. It's YouTube stuff, it's chores, it's taking care of my daughter, it's taking care of things that at the house that my wife might need help with, all those things. But I'm not stressed out over it. I'm able to roll with it and do what I need to do and not worry so much about it. Such a change from being a drinker where everything is so stressful, especially if we have a family that we need to take care of, because that's our home life is so important in our journey in our lives. And if we can, get away from that drinking habit and move on and do things in a healthy fashion, we're going to be so much better for it. Which leads me to the topic of change. As a drinker and pretty much my entire life, I hated change. The prospect of it was, it caused me so much anxiety. And every year, when I was younger, when school would start, I would start stressing out in August. And then I would get to school and I would start and I would ease into it and I wouldn't be as stressed out. And it went like that into my adulthood with other things that required change, especially being that I have a family. Things were always changing. There was always things that we had to, help our kids with, help our spouse with, do things around the house. And uh, change is hard, and it's hard to accept change. Change stirs up so many emotions in us. Just thinking about all the changes, but the thing is, changes are inevitable. I mean, it's something that is something that we need to expect in life and not fight it and resist it, which is what I did as a drinker. I would fight and resist change. I would let it dictate my mood. I would let it dictate how I felt, and then I would drink because of it. And then I would make more choices that were poor because of my anger, my irritability, and all these things that come along with the anxiety. As a non-drinker, the change is so much easier to deal with. Again, that didn't come in the first month or two or 6 months even. It took some years of being alcohol free to really, and 100% alcohol free, to really notice the change in that and the beauty in being able to accept change, to roll with it. Now I've grown in my faith, and that plays a huge role in my recovery in my life. But whatever it is for you, finding that solace is what this is all about without drinking. Finding that place where you can go, where you don't worry so much about what's going to happen next. It's kind of a kid's game, the what if game, the change, the resisting all this. And that's what the beauty of being alcohol free gives us, the opportunity to learn about that and to accept things and to grow and to be able to acknowledge that we're not really in control of a lot. We're in control of ourselves. and we're in control of some of the circumstances in our life. But at a moment's notice, our life can change, and we have to be able to be okay with that and cope with it and not drink. That's a huge thing. In public speaking, it's so hard as a drinker to, if it's causing you anxiety, to continue on drinking. I can tell you that when I was younger, I had opportunities. In particular, I had one job opportunity that I had to go in there and do a class, and then a few days later we did role playing, and it was for a real estate job. It was writing loans, and I got through the first few days of it because it was all math and just stuff like that. It wasn't hard, but as soon as we got to the role playing, I was like, man, I can't handle this. And they threw some scenario at me that I could not handle. I failed miserably at it. I froze up in front of everybody. It was probably a class of 30 people or so, and I went home, tail between my legs, and I drank. I drank the rest of the night, and then the next morning I didn't go to the class, and ultimately I never went back. And that was an opportunity where, whatever. I was like 24 years old, so I didn't really care. But at the same time, I did feel like, there's going to be more opportunities in my life, and if I continue to try to escape it without really following through with the opportunity, and then drinking at it, and then drinking at my feelings and my emotions regarding that, I'm never going to get anywhere. So many things happened, but fast forward all the way up until I started this YouTube channel. I was 40, in my mid 40s when I started this channel, 46 uh, and 47, and it took me years. It took me a few years of being alcohol free to feel confident and feel able to do that. Uh, I grew in my faith. I started going to church and reading scripture around year 2.5. So once I got to around 3.5 years, I decided I'm going to start just filming myself and making videos, and then watching how I do. And I'd start with simple 5-minute videos, and I'd watch my uh, kind of what I'd say, my facial expressions, get comfortable with how I looked on camera and how I look on camera. And it took a while, but like I said, I was confident enough in my alcohol free life and my sobriety and my recovery that I didn't really, you know, like care to dwell on all the things that were wrong. Like, I get a red face. Now, I'm in the middle of taking a medication for that, and it's going to take a couple months to work itself out. But that's really the biggest stumbling block that I've had my entire life, and it's not like it's always there, but it's worse when I'm speaking in front of a group of people. Like, it still happens at work when I'm thrust in front of 70 people, and it's debilitating. It can be, but at the same time, I'm confident enough to say, like, "Hey, everybody," and jump out there, and then say something funny or whatever, and not make it awkward like I typically used to as a drinker. So, what do you guys think about sensitivity and the fact that, does it make us drink? Put it down in the comments, your experience with this, and let us know your journey and where you've been with your drinking, with your feelings of sensitivity, with your feelings of emotion, and, if we're emotional. And let us know how we can help you. I've got a sobriety group. It's called Sobriety in the Storm. It's kind of just for people just like us that want to maybe talk in private. They don't want to share on this YouTube channel. And if you want to join that group, I'll pin the link in the comments below. It's called Sobriety in the Storm. Also, check out some more of my videos. I'll also pin that in the comments below. Uh, Consider becoming a member. If you do like this video and like my videos, please like and subscribe. And if you subscribe, please consider becoming a member. I'd like to keep this channel going as well. So if you feel like giving a super thanks and donating monetarily, you can do that. You can also buy me a coffee. These are some things and some ways that we can invest in our sobriety, in our recovery, and in our alcohol-free life, and live a better life. So I'm glad that you guys are here. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate every single one of you, and have a great day, and we'll see you on the next video.